The Nature Photo Guys podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Camera Store, located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
It's our go-to spot for everything photography and video. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, the Camera Store has what you need.
And the best part, they ship right across Canada with free shipping on most orders over $99.
The Camera Store is a legendary name in photography, so make sure to check them out today at camerastore.com.
Welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast,
where we talk about nature photography, from gear to our philosophies and everything in between.
So grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax.
You're listening to Joe Desjardins
and Chris Gibbs, the Nature Photo Guys.
Hey guys, welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast.
Before we introduce today's guest, we want to thank our sponsor of today's episode, Sony Canada, in partnership with the Camera Store.
Sony hugely supports Canadian creators, including photographers, filmmakers, and everything in between. We appreciate their support for the community and sponsoring this episode. They also have some great promos, including their Sony Trade-In, Trade-Up program.
Absolutely. You can get a bonus credit from Sony on trade-ins to the Camera Store toward new Sony mirrorless cameras and lenses, up to $800 on select models. You can check out all the details at thecamerastore.com.
100%. This is a great time to do it if you're in the market for a new Sony camera or lens. The offer runs until May 15th, 2025, and is stackable with any other existing Sony rebates at the Camera Store. Now, back to our guest.
Today's guest is an Alberta-based adventure, travel, and wildlife creator with a deep passion for exploring the natural world. After 5 years as a competitive slopestyle skier, he's taken that same energy and channeled it into storytelling, capturing breathtaking landscapes, unique wildlife encounters, and the spirit of adventure through both photography and video. Now working full-time as a freelance creator, he partners with tourism boards and adventure brands across the globe. His work is more than just beautiful visuals. It's a reflection of his dedication to the craft, his love of wild places, and his drive to inspire others to get outside and experience the world more deeply. And when he's not behind the camera, you'll still find him skiing, hiking, or chasing his next great adventure. Please welcome to the show, Dusty Cressey.
Hey Dusty, how's it going?
Good. Thank you guys for having me on here. I'm excited to have a chat.
We're super stoked too. We're going to be meeting up shortly here in about just over a month down to Light Chaser. So we thought this would be perfect to get you on just before the event and get this podcast out there, so people get a good idea of who you are, especially those attending. So yeah, timing couldn't have been any better. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, no worries. I'm excited to be here. It's I've met so many people in the industry, but there's also still different breakups between like slightly different niches and the types of different groups. So it's always fun meeting some new people.
Oh, sure. It's crazy. You get to know a bunch of the local photographers, but, and there's some big names around here, especially, the mountains and stuff like that people are really aware of, but there's an infinite amount of amazing photographers out there. That's, their story needs to be told. We want to introduce everybody to them, that sort of thing. So that's why we have you on, man. We saw your work. Your portfolio on your website is crazy. So I can't wait for you to talk about a lot of that commercial work. But just like every other guest, we kind of want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into photography, that kind of stuff, like what initially drew you to photography. We know, but we need you to tell everybody else there. So yeah, you bet.
For sure. Well, I'm still perfecting my elevator pitch, which I haven't got down to being very concise. Long story short is I grew up here in central Alberta on a farm, grading cattle farm near Sylvan Lake, if you guys are familiar with it.
Absolutely.
Out in the prairies, but in a pretty nice spot, pretty close to the Rockies. Mm-hmm. So I was always outdoors on the farm and just like grew an affinity to the outdoors, nature, landscapes, wildlife, what have you call it, as I was pretty young. And then everybody in my family was pretty into traveling. My mom backpacked, my grandma did like safari trips to Africa and stuff like that. And so I was just like constantly exposed to that type of stuff, not only being on the farm. And then eventually I got into freestyle skiing, which is a little bit of a right turn off the intro, but it's just like skateboarding. It's doing tricks and you're hanging out with your friends And so you're wanting to film and photograph that. And pretty much as soon as I got into that world, I seen that people had like crazy camera setups, and I wasn't really into the cameras at that time, but it's like, I need something to film my skiing and my friends, and we need to make edits so we can get sponsors, as that's the dream anyways.
Yeah.
And so for like 3 or 4 years before I got super competitive, we would just like go to our training or whatever you want to call it and have fun and film and photograph. And then that slowly built into a little bit more of a competitive career. I kind of skied in like a NORAM at the beginning of a World Cup series around North America.
Nice.
Where I wasn't photographing as much, but iPhones were getting bigger. So I was filming on maybe my phone and stuff like that a little bit more, and had a little bit of a break from my camera. But eventually I decided to call it quits after kind of some injuries and just like not really maybe aligned with what I wanted for my life goals and stuff. So I stepped away from skiing, and I had a little bit of a creative void and also just like a time void that I realized. So I picked up my camera again. And then shortly after that, I upgraded because I like really fell in love with it again and decided to go backpacking. Went to Southeast Asia and New Zealand for about 9 months and just shot every single day, and started seeing people online that were doing like the travel lifestyle stuff and seeing more wildlife stuff and all of that on social media and online, and seeing that people were able to make a living with it. And I maybe didn't have the goal to make a living with it at that time, but it's like, oh, this might be a possibility. And so it was kind of the turning point of cameras in my life. And it was just kind of my extra appendage at that point from now for almost 10 years. And I got back and went to forestry school, and I started fighting wildfires seasonally after that. And that allowed me to freelance and stuff in the wintertime. And I met a community through that. Some people in Edmonton that have now all moved to Calgary that have been with me the whole time, and kind of supported each other. And now this is like elevated into a bigger community here in Calgary, and my social media started to grow. And I realized that it was a possibility to make an income and then a full-time income. So I pretty much quit every other thing. And now I've just been working as a freelance photographer and videographer, as well as building up my social media, which is mostly like outdoor lifestyle, travel, adventure, and as much wildlife I can fit in there as well, still keep it somewhat even, I guess, because I would probably share all wildlife if I didn't have to focus on working with brands and things like that. But that's a pretty high level overview of the trajectory, but it's been quite the journey, and it just continues to keep building and meeting more and more interesting people like you guys.
Cool. So,
Wow,
so
sounds
who was the community or you were involved with in Edmonton that moved down to Calgary?
Yeah, so this was around the time when Instagram meetups was a big thing. So at first, I had just got Instagram when I was doing this trip, and then started posting. And then when I got to Edmonton, I went to Nate for forestry. So I realized there's a couple other guys. One's name is Lost Coordinates on Instagram, and the other one is Mark Webster. And both of them started a company called Roam Creative, which is fairly substantial here in the city of Calgary. They do a lot of tourism and outdoor branding type business, outdoor branding type videos, I mean. And so they both are in Calgary, and it's just kind of, I guess, elevated from there. Everyone's been doing really well, and it's been kind of crazy to see. I just did a Sony meetup the other day, and there's probably 10 or 15 people that I've met like over 5 years ago that have all made their own career in completely different paths, but made it work for themselves. So it's really inspiring to see.
No kidding. That's awesome to see that they've been able to make something out of it for sure.
For sure.
So firefighting, did you go to school to do that, or was that something that kind of
came out of it almost?
Yeah, came out of it. So
it's a little bit of a funny story, because when I quit skiing, my mom was like, "Oh, you got to do something," and it's not like she was really getting on my case, but as you know how mothers can be a little bit. So she was like finding out when the career fairs were and like when certain schools or what my interest was. I was always like kind of self-driven always, so I had like these ideas in mind, but I would never maybe go to the career fair. But one day we went to Red Deer College, and they had a Nate thing there, and some of the forestry or forest technology students were there, and they were talking about doing Wildfire in the summer. And this was before I went traveling, because I signed up and then I deferred my program for a year when I was away. But they were basically telling me that they fly in helicopters and fight fires. So all I had was this small idea in my mind, and I didn't know anything more about it at all. But when I was traveling the whole time, I was like, yeah, I'm going back to do this. And so I had this new goal. And when I went to school, I realized actually the whole process of Alberta Wildfire here. So basically what it was is, once I went to school, I did actually learn a lot about forestry, the forestry industry, logging, etc. But they also do a lot about fire science and Alberta wildfire and wildfire sciences. So in the summertime, you can either work for a mill and more on the industrial side of things, which I did partially work in for one summer. But then the Alberta Wildfire program is a seasonal position. It's a little bit different than some of the other provinces. So I've seen that as a really cool opportunity to go get on. I was on a 4-man hack crew, so a heli attack crew. So I was able to go and fly in a helicopter pretty much every day or multiple times a day for 3 summers. And then I also had 14 on and 6 off. So I had 6 days off, but I also lived in Nordegg on a wildfire base. So it was kind of like this perfection situation where I realized a lot of the goals. And then I also had the winter months off to ski and also to work on my freelance business. So it was a really, really cool opportunity and something I'm sure we'll get into with business that like allowed me to have some stable income while I was building up, but also something that was like kind of furthered my goals.
Crazy. So did you actually land the helicopters in or jump from helicopters? Like, or was it, I'm not sure what you did when you say fighting from a helicopter.
Yeah. So helicopters are used generally just to carry buckets of water, carry crew into there. But in Alberta, we used to have a program called RAP where you'd rappel out of it, but they closed that down. So the closest thing that I could do was heli attack. It's HAC hack for short. And we'd be a 4-man crew. We'd have like I can't remember the classification of the helicopter, but about a 5 or 6 seater. We'd get called. We'd be the initial attack crew, which would go and fly around the fire, see if we needed additional crews, which a bigger crew would be a 20-man crew, and they come into like sustained action and put fires out more so. But if it was under like 5 hectares or something like that, we would usually get on the ground, start working on it, and the helicopter would put their bucket on and start putting water on it. So we were the first people on the scene most of the times. And sometimes you get a small fire from a campfire way up in the mountains and you land on the ridge and you have to hike down, or sometimes you're landing and jumping out into a slough waist deep in water. It's quite a variance, but it's quite exciting.
No kidding. And did you have your camera with you for stuff like that? Was that allowed, or is it more just from your phone? Or
I had my camera on some flights when I knew there was no chance of having a fire. I didn't really want to have the option. And again, like putting the fire out or being able to action it is the priority. So I didn't really take it out with me, but I did have my phone. I have like a kind of crazy archive of videos and stuff like that, which I don't think I can share, but it's pretty cool.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Well, thanks for doing that for your service and everything. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
no kidding.
Yeah, that's takes the right person to get behind and help with that stuff. So good for you.
Yeah, it's pretty wild out there.
So 3 years and you kind of just moved on to something else, or?
Yeah. So when I was in school, I did I was only a 2-year program for forest technology. So I worked at a mill, but they had a kind of a coalition with one of the wildfire district in Whitecourt. So I worked for a mill, but they also had, because they owned most of the forest or wood in the area of this wildfire district, they also would fly some patrols. So I would go and work with wildfire and fly the area pretty frequently, as well as doing some other stuff like pine beetle monitoring and things like that. And then once I graduated school, I went to Wildfire, where I ended up in Alberta Wildfire, where I ended up in the Rocky District, which I was based out of Nordegg.
Well, I mean, Nordegg's a beautiful spot. I'm sure you had, it was a playground for you out that way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I like to fly fish and I like to hike and photograph. So it's a pretty good situation. I realized that I didn't answer the full question, but yeah, I did a summer at the mill and then 3 summers out of the Rocky District. And then that's when I kind of realized that I had enough proof that I could make a living doing this. And I didn't need to go back for another year. It was very sad to leave because it's kind of a lifestyle job and a lot of people start it. And then you build a community out there too. You live together all summer. And then it's a little bit hard to leave that excitement of getting to fly all the time too.
I bet.
Wow.
Was that a big change for you from doing that to not doing that?
It's a little bit like, it's weird as it sounds. My life is from being on the farm, I've had like a lot of exposure to like equipment and different things, or like rodeo-esque stuff with the cows. So it was always exciting. And then freestyle skiing, I was traveling and doing that. And so it just seems like these are evolving. And then Wildfire was like one of those eras of it. And then now I'm not maybe flying in a helicopter going to wildfires, but I'm getting to do relatively exciting stuff. And I've kind of been like trying to stay true to myself and like at least staying exposed to kind of those type of things in my life. And it definitely was sad to leave, but not that I wasn't able to fill that, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know what? We haven't even mentioned, I'm just wondering if we can be friends. So I'm going to have to ask you what camera system you shoot.
I shot on Sony or on Canon when I started out. I had a Rebel.
Oh, good answer. Okay, good.
I had a Rebel and I have a 5D Mark II, which I actually just picked up from my parents' house again. And I have a 35 1.4, which I forgot about for some reason. Then I have an adapter to my now Sony system.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you
nice.
go.
Yeah.
So Sony, okay.
Yeah, so I'm a Sony shooter. When the A7 III came out, and that was before the Canon mirrorless like was really on the market very good. So
Sure.
it was just like a very good move, especially since I was like looking into video and stuff. But now I don't think you can really go wrong. It's just I've built myself into the Sony ecosystem and been pretty happy with it.
Yeah,
a lot
no
of people I find that shoot video are shooting Sony cameras. I shoot video, but I'm stuck with the Canon side. But yeah, there's a ton of people shooting Sony for the video side for sure. Right?
Yeah, I like to jump in and gang up on Nikon, but like looking at all the brands, any of them right now, you can pretty much find a really strong hybrid. Even like looking at what Lumix is putting out for the price amount, it's pretty incredible actually.
Yeah,
exactly. We like to gang up on Nikon as well. So.
Are you both Canon guys?
Yeah.
I like some of their stuff. I am jealous of the Nikon big telephoto lens with a built-in teleconverter though.
Yeah, Canon doesn't have that either. Yeah. So it's what is it? What is it? I can't
600 with a 1.4 built-in.
Is that what it is?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. So what wildlife lens do you have for the Sony right now? Because I know Sony's come out with a couple of new.
Yeah. Right now, I've always liked wildlife, but like for a long time, I was just like, didn't have extra money to spend on gear. And like now I've built it. So it's kind of a business expense. While it doesn't feel like it, it's hard to justify in my mind still. But I shoot on a 200 to 600 with the Sony A7 IV, which has been a really great combo, especially for not maybe budget, but like being very approachable in terms of price. But currently saving up for a 600 F4, which I would love to get in the next few months, but we'll see how that goes.
Nice. You just got to sell your car. You got to sell your a kidney. Oh my God. My glass, my 500 is probably 12 years old. And I mean, it still does an amazing job. It's a 500 F4. It's a version 2. But Canon doesn't have a direct replacement for it anymore. So it's either the 400 2.8 or the 600 F4. And when I'm looking at $17,000, like I'm like, what? You got
to talk to your local brand managers, see how they can help you.
Absolutely.
There you go.
It's crazy, but no, I mean. In your career right now, it's got to make money for you too. Like that's the thing. It's a business expense. Absolutely. So that's how we justify, spending the money we do. Chris just got a toy.
Yeah. Well, I picked up a 400 2.8 last year,
wow.
But I rented it for all the versions on the Canon side for so many years. And like the rental fees were they were getting up there. So at some point you kind of got to figure out, is this something I want to shoot with going forward? And this is a business expense, and I had to make that work. Otherwise I was just throwing away money on rentals. Right. So at some point you got to figure that out. But
I've also looked into like the option of buying a Canon, like Series 2 or whatever, for just adapting it to Sony. But because Sony doesn't we went from like the old series, none of those lenses are any good because I haven't been making them for a long time. Like, we don't have that equivalent of like an older generation to because it's quite a different,
still new.
It's different. So Sony's pretty new, even though it's been around for 10 years. You're not having like two generations of a 600 or a 400, but
I get you.
There is options now of like the 300 2.8. It's like in the $6,000 $7,000 range, still very expensive, but it's under 10K versus 17,000 for a 600 forward.
And if it's anything like the Canon stuff or the Nikon stuff, which I'm sure it is, I got a friend of mine, she shoots with a 300 2.8 and uses that 2x teleconverter and gets 600 5.6. I mean, the image quality is insane, absolutely insane. So that's a great price point to get into that if you can get the teleconverters. Like, does Sony have like a 1.4 and a 2x? Like
we have the same, The only problem is because I shoot video and photo, and I do video somewhat commercially a lot of times on projects, I'm like trying to weave this line of like not having 4 camera bodies. I don't own an A1 or something like that, but I need something that shoots the right video set, like S-Log and all the things that I want. And but I also want enough megapixels. So it's like the A7 IV is pretty great, but like I'd like more megapixels, but then I don't have this other body that does like all of the video things. So because I like wildlife, it's almost like I need a separate body, like the higher megapixel or something. Well, I do fine. It's just like, it's not just focused on commercial video and photo. It's like, I also have this affinity for wildlife. So it's like, I almost want to build my setup a little bit different. I'm not upset by it by any means, but I'm still trying to figure out what that ideal setup is.
Oh,
I think
for
everybody
sure.
has that battle,
Yeah.
right? Who's trying to get into video on that side. I mean, for a while there, I was trying to switch between, carrying 2 cameras, and then, okay, now I'm going to shoot this one for photo and I'll use this one for video, and I need my ND filters on this one. And it's just a battle going back and forth, and you're forever evolving that setup, right? So if you start somewhere and then kind of build it, I think it's probably, you'll figure out where you need to be. But you're right. If you're doing so many different things, it's probably hard to
Luckily
focus
now
on
I've have a good community. Like some of us, a really good friend of mine, Victor Arden, which is a guy you guys should have on. A friend that I shoot pretty much everything with, and is the equal interest in wildlife, but he has different gear than I have, and we buy things kind of opposing. So if I buy one thing, he has a GoPro, the newest one, and I just bought it. It's a 360. So we don't double up stuff. So that makes a lot of help too. He has an FX3 that I'll be able to use on certain projects, or he'll help me on projects that we can use each other's lenses, which is really nice.
Great idea. That's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Save you a crap ton.
Except for when I had a 600 f4 on loaner for a couple weeks in Jasper while we were shooting our projects, and he's got a 200 to 600 now, but he was using another lens that just wasn't really up to snuff compared to the Sony setup. And that comparison, it's you can only have one 600. And when one has one, the other one is wanting to shoot on that too. So that's when you're running. There's no comparison to that.
Yeah, true enough. Who gets what for how long before you have to switch?
Yeah.
And then you wonder if you're going to share. So
that one I won't share, but I get it for sure.
Hey everyone, our Wonders of Waterton Nature Photography and Video Workshop is happening June 5th to 8th.
Don't miss this chance to learn and create in one of Canada's most beautiful parks. Spots are limited. Register now at thenaturePhotoguys.ca.
Does the Sony cameras you're using shoot higher than 4K or just 4K? Or
yeah, so that's one thing interesting with the Sony setup right now. The hybrid, the A7 IV, doesn't shoot anything more than 4K. So there's a lot of rumors going around to see what the next generation of the A7 IV or the FX3 is going to have for maybe
6K or something.
Yeah, maybe 6K, especially on the hybrid side.
Yeah, I shoot a lot in the field. I'm shooting 4K 120 for wildlife, a lot of that on the video side, but I do the Canon R5 and the R5C that I shoot also shoot 8K. So when I can't get close enough to the subject, I do kick into 8K 24 frames, so I can actually crop in to get a half decent 4K image, video out of it.
Yeah, for
which
sure.
is kind of handy for the distance shot. But yeah, no, for sure, that's awesome. So hopefully they come up with something.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm not too too upset about it. 4K does really well. I would like 4K 120, the hybrid setups, unless you're shooting on the A1 or A9 III, you don't get 4K 120, which most times I'm not, but it would be nice to have the 120 for certain wildlife. But even then, you can slow it down and do some digital stuff if you really need to. But
this day and age, for sure,
it's funny to see the difference between the R5, for example, is it's the top of the line one pretty much, right? Or I guess they have the different versions, they have
the R3 and R1 now as well.
That's right. Yeah, it's because our hybrid isn't as high spec, but then you have the A1, which has everything. So there's where the R5 kind of fits in between those things. So no complaints, but it's interesting to see each brand has their differences and difficulties to see where you should fit at.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, but you're right. With all the brands now, I mean, we give Nikon a hard time all the time. The guests, we give them a hard time, but their cameras are good too.
Oh my gosh. They have some of the
Z8s and Z9s. And even they have the 800 PF 5.6 lens, and it's not big. So it's really nice lens as well. A lot of the wildlife photographers are starting to use that now as well. So
for sure.
Yeah.
And that's all we're going to say about Nikon. Yeah. No more accolades. There'll be enough of them down at Light Chasers.
Yeah, that's right. We're already going to get in a hard enough time when we see them.
Oh my God. We had 4 or 5 Nikon shooters in a row on the podcast. And a couple of them are going to be down at Light Chasers. And we get the odd message every second day about, converting or coming over to the dark side, and Nikon does this, and then it's it's a lot of fun, right? It's the old Ford and Chev kind of thing, you know what I mean?
For sure.
The back and forth stuff.
It's all fun and games until you're in the wrong comment section online.
Right.
I don't know about you, and I'm sure most of us do it, but I'll see a post. I just go straight to the comment section. That's all I want to read, because
Really,
people are just like over the top about stuff, eh? Like,
I agree.
It's insane. No hold barred. Like, it just, yeah, it's, anyways, it's crazy funny, but, so I noticed, doing a bit of a deep dive, one of the questions we normally ask is, do you shoot video? Of course you shoot video. That's part of your work, for these, commercials and stuff you do. It looks like you do some drone stuff too. Is that right?
Yeah.
A drone pilot, or?
I am like a basic drone pilot. I will still hire out like a commercially licensed one. For certain projects and in parks and stuff like that. It just makes it a lot easier when I have a small team, and then I don't have to worry about that, or even like just charging the batteries, like simple as that. It's nice to have somebody that takes care of that. But especially when I travel, I mean, the roads are a little bit easier to deal with in some countries. So it's nice to have a little bit more freedom while still being smart about it, of course, in general. But it's beautiful, especially on the eastern side of the Rockies here. We have some great crown land areas where we can fly and get out and capture things a little bit differently. It's fun.
Yeah, I got to get to some of those. I'm an advanced drone pilot, so I don't get, but I do a lot of real estate videos, so a lot of it's here in Calgary. But yeah, I'd like to get out. Do you fly a Mini, or what do you fly?
Between a Mini and an Air 2S, and then like one of my friends has a Mavic 3 Pro, which we use for commercial stuff. So it really just depends on what we're doing. It's nice to have the small size now.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I fly Air 2S. I've flown that for just about 4 years now.
But it's pretty great option, especially if you even need one now, like for the prices. But the Minis are getting so affordable as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, that's
true. So where did you get that whale footage? I've seen a quick video clip. You're taking a drone over some whales. Where was that?
That was in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. So I went for not photography trip, but I dislocated my shoulder in February. So I haven't really been able to get up to too much action or photography. I wasn't able to lift a big lens for a long time, which was a pain. But we were just down there for my soon-to-be brother-in-law's birthday, and I knew that the whales were coming in close. A friend of mine was at the same resort, and they were right on the beach. And as soon as we got there, you could see them all in the bay. These were gray whales, so they're not quite humpbacks, quite as big, but they can go into maybe like 15 feet of water. And almost every day they were like splashing in the water, like in the whitewash right in front of us. So with being it shallow, and then I put a polarizer on the drone, it was really cool. I just go out every morning and just fly the drones and see what you can see. Because when they're in that close, it gets so much more clarity of the whales and the details of them too. And you can see the shadow cast on the bottom of the ocean too. It's very cool.
Jeez. So is this something you record personally, or is this something you'd submit to stock and that sort of thing too?
That is a good idea, actually. Like I do submit stuff to stock a little bit. It was definitely a bigger part when I had more time in the past. Like right now, I feel like I have things that might pull my attention a little bit more, and it takes some time. I use Blackbox, if you guys know what that is.
I do as well. Yeah.
So it makes the most sense to just upload it there and have a curator deal with that on that side of things. I'm not sure how you use it, but those things, wildlife for me, honestly, like I have shots of what are they called? Sloths in Colombia and some of those different countries. And for some reason, those sell really good in some of those different shots that people just don't have for wildlife. So wildlife like the whale is something that I would probably send up there.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah,
for sure.
You bet. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. So tell us a little bit about some of your projects here. Like, I mean, going on your website here, looks like you've dealt with some major brands here too. Like, I mean, right at the beginning, the projects, it looks like you shot for some of these major automotive manufacturers too, like GMCs for one, it looks like. What else you got here? You got all kinds of cool stuff. Like, is this something, is this what you wanted to do in the beginning? Was a lot of this, this collaboration, this brand work? I mean, you've got some really big names. You got like ViewSonic and GMC, and then the random show, Columbia,
That's awesome. And how did you get involved with all those guys?
Yeah, it's an interesting subject because I feel like creative to me is like evenly business as it is like doing the creating stuff. My parents are farmers, so like self-employed, but then my uncle and two of my uncles own a sod and nursery. I don't know if you guys know what Bluegrass Sod Farm is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's
Bluegrass.
Bluegrass is my mom's
awesome.
family's company. So I've watched them be business owners, and I've always aspired to be business owner. So
nice.
Yeah.
That was kind of in the back of my head. Not like connected to photography at all. Like I always dreamed of having business, but it was never like aligned in the beginning until I realized that maybe I was able to weave them together. And still, yeah, like I still have aspirations for business outside of photography, which might completely detach my money and photography relationship, which would be awesome in the future. But when I started out, I just slowly started getting introduced to some brands and being able to learn how to make those relationships. I mean, doing some stuff for free and maybe working for local tourism boards and stuff like that. But as it kind of grew, I really had built some great relationships, and my social media, I realized, was kind of a tool, but like also a valuable community builder. So not only was I like able to network with businesses, but I was able to meet other people. And so I put quite a bit of effort and time. Didn't really get any traction on social media for a really long time. But then about a couple of years ago, I gained like a substantial amount from where I was at. I was maybe at like 7 or 10,000, and I grew up to maybe 85,000. But I had been working with brands throughout that period. But after that, I had got invited to work with like GMC, Red Bull, and some of those things. So I wouldn't say it was purely just because of the fun, but because I had been shooting stuff that I enjoyed and liked and was passionate about for a long period of time. Once I had gained a following, that these brands, when they were looking for people in a certain demographic, found that I was a good fit. So like, for example, GMC, I'm just starting off into my almost 2.5 years of working with them ongoing. So that's really cool. I grew up driving GMC. So like a brand relationship like that and able to kind of build and work with them ongoing is really, really valuable to me, but also like kind of inspiring to myself. Like I couldn't imagine that I would have been able to do that. And I'm just super grateful for it. So it's just been constant, like not network. And I don't even like that time, but like building genuine relationships over the years. And then you meet one person at one business, they move to another agency, and then that relationship carries on with a different brand. And it's been in a nutshell, just kind of focusing on genuine relationships and doing good work and doing stuff that I'm actually interested in. That has like built me into being able to work with some of those brands. It's different for everybody because I feel like you can get down the line of like, oh, I'm going to shoot weddings to make money, but you're not actually interested in it. And that takes all your time away, that you're not actually getting out and shooting wildlife. I imagine you guys get that question of like, how do I start shooting wildlife? It's like, well, if you have an iPhone and a 5x zoom, you can go in and shoot squirrels or woodpeckers or anything in your backyard, and you can use Lightroom. And that's probably 80% of what we do. It's just we've gained some money and we've spent it on our gear now. But if you don't have that will to like get out and do that, you're not going to become a wildlife photographer. So there's a huge transition. I mean, I started in the commercial side of things 30 years ago with, the good old slide film days and the 2 1/4 stuff. And, it wasn't a whole lot of nature photography back then. It was just work, you know what I mean? Studio, portraits, weddings, all this kind of stuff. And then, I did weddings for about 20 years. And then, but at the same time, you're working with the nature side of things, right? And then, like you said, eventually you just kind of cross over and you can put all that stuff behind. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but you get to a certain point where, okay, I'm done, especially with the weddings, it's just like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. And then, transitioning to something else full time. Right. So, but yeah, I mean, in the beginning, like you said, you do what you need to do. You slowly start acquiring gear, but like you said, anybody could start out with just your phone. I mean, it's sick. Like some of these landscape images I see people just taking on their phones, like it's unreal,
and a lot of people think that, we bought all this gear at once. I mean, it was, built up over time. I mean, I think I still have my 70-200 that I bought in 2012 that I still use to this day. You know what I mean? So it's not, but and your concepts change, your ideas change. I started in the photography side as a sports action photographer, and then doing landscapes, and then met this guy about 10, 15 years ago, and he's Mr. Wildlife. So I ended up shooting a lot more wildlife. So things change over time too. So
yeah, you bet.
Even for like talking about the commercial stuff is like, I maybe aspired to do more social media when I was starting out, because I didn't really know at all the business of like doing commercial work. But one of the things that Victor, the guy that I mentioned too, and some of my other friends, we've really focused on like, I mean, I'm not where I want to be, but focus on quality of work. And like, so we're kind of sitting in a mid ground, like we can do a small production, but we can also create social media assets. So which brings a lot of value to brands. They don't have to hire a full production team or like a $200,000 budget project. They can hire, even though still substantial, they can hire us to post on our socials as well as create these commercial assets, which is like, for example, GMC, the way that relationship works. I am creating social media content in my style and whatever, but I'm also using that same imagery to create different assets for their use as well. So that gets put out for their monthly marketing or whatever like that.
And then you're posting it on your own social media.
Yeah, as well.
Okay,
That's
I see.
originally the main format. And then I'm also developing it usually landscape as well in maybe a slightly different cut. But that's just like an example of how I feel like it's kind of developed into, and which is a good fit for me because I don't necessarily want to be on like 15 to 50 person production crews. I don't really aspire for that. So I'd like to share more of the outdoors and inspire people on my social media, but also still be involved with the freelance. And that helps me build a little bit more income sometimes when you don't have social media things coming in. And so it's a nice balancing act, I guess.
No kidding.
You bet.
Gee, that didn't exist 15 years ago, did it?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Oh,
it's crazy.
So social media, there is some positives from social media there for sure, right?
This is a crazy conversation I think about all the time because I put so much time into it, but like, even if I take like the 5 best relationships I've had, which are my best friends, probably, I think that's worth it too, which I would have maybe had if I didn't spend so much time, but still that's one of the positives.
No kidding. Oh,
So tell us a little bit about social media and how you approach it. You said you had 7,000 to 8,000 followers and then you just blew up overnight. And we see that with a lot of photo Instagram accounts and that sort of thing. We've had a couple of people on that did grow to hundreds of thousands, pretty much after one reel went viral or something like that. And so is that kind of what happened to you? And also, like, how do you approach social media in general? Like, is this, something you're thinking about all the time? You're shooting specifically for that, et cetera. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think before I dive too deep, the comment somebody said earlier of like, ever evolving is just like the main phrase. Is like, from when I started, I didn't know what I was doing then. And the way that I work, I'm not a major planner. So I'm just like continuously watching and trying to evolve with my skill set with also what I'm creating. But what happened was, I don't know what year, probably about 2 years ago now, just by like observing what was working, I tried to adapt that to my own style. And for some reason, like single clip short videos, like 5 seconds, were doing really well. I did not change like the type of theme I was posting. I just used the content that I had and adapted it to those styles. And like this format that we're using was garnering like, I don't know, let's be able to get more than 5 or 6 videos a month, get more than 1 million. And then eventually one of them hit like 21.6 million or something, which was crazy. And then using the same like format back then, which doesn't work anymore. Still sometimes it could, I guess. My friend got 60 million on a video, which is just like, we couldn't have made it do that. It's just kind of continuing to put stuff out. And I just have been like an advocate, even when I didn't have a lot of followers. It was like, I'm just going to keep making stuff because I like to make it. And I'm not like afraid to adapt to what's working because I know that what I'm making in terms of thematics is like still very close to what I'm interested in. So I'm not like, I'm an artist, but I'm also like, I still get gain from changing and adapting to it. So as long as I can keep it true to myself, I don't mind to like change the formats a bit. And sometimes I'll go one for me and one for them and trying to like make things work, but also make one that maybe isn't even focused on going bigger than that. I don't have the answer. So like, I don't know what's going on these days. Carousels are working right now, but I'm not sure.
And then next week is something different. Like I'm a big YouTube guy and that stuff comes up on my feed and I'm just like, well, all of a sudden now, like you said, carousels are back. And I'm like, well, wasn't that like 3 years ago, kind of photo carousels? But again, it's all about the algorithm, how long you stay on the page and, whether it's a half a second versus 3.5 seconds, that makes a difference. Like, it's just, there's so much, but it's like you said, it's ever evolving. And I don't know how to keep track or, keep up or like.
You almost just have to post the way you want for yourself and then hope that, at some point, I guess, are you always focused on the social media side, worrying about, losing followers or gaining followers? Or are you just posting for yourself now? Or how do you think that through?
I'm not really worried about it. I just know that it's good. Like it's brought me a lot of value and I like to create stuff. And it's just like a good, like track record of what I'm making. So if I'm not posting, I'm generally not making anything. So like right now I haven't been out shooting as much, but I am going back to, I just posted a set from Patagonia. I photographed some pumas. The images were not great. back then, like 4 years ago, but I re-edited them in my new style. It's like allows me to look back and look at some memories, re-release some of the work in a new style, but also like continue to post. And I'm going through some of those catalogs and finding a lot of value. And personally, just from looking back at those memories, but also allowing me to continue to make stuff with what I already have. And so I think a lot of people get caught up in like having to like go and shoot out every day. A lot of people also talk about batching content if you're like doing talking to camera stuff, or like when you're out on a day and shooting a bunch of videos at once. But like, I don't really put a lot of pressure on trying to get better at planning things out, as I am also trying to get onto YouTube a little bit. But I feel like you guys probably too are shooting so much that we have way more than we think, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the cream of the crop all the time. And I'm also trying to focus a little bit on storytelling more than in the past. So like showing some of those behind the scenes moments of like what it takes to get some of these images, or just like hanging out on the tailgate or after the day and some of these things too. So just trying to be a little bit more honest without sharing my entire life, but like things that are related to my niche or my interests, I'm willing to share some of those like more authentic moments as well, which I think has been valuable too in building relationships like yourself, or even people that I went to a meetup the other day that with Sony that was part of hosting, and like people see your stuff online and like you kind of already have a relationship, even if I've never met them before.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So is it primarily Instagram for you then, or
my biggest audience is on Instagram? Yeah, I do have a YouTube and a TikTok, but they haven't made it to my main focus. I'm trying to transition that. It's like Instagram's been so good to me that I like posting there, but I want to be more YouTube first in the future for sure.
So do you find your YouTube is going to be similar stuff to Instagram, or is it a different beast altogether for what content you're going to post? Or are you still thinking that through?
I have some really great YouTube friends that have fairly big audiences, and like they always say it's like just get going and then kind of see what works, and then you can niche down. Like I've worked with auto vehicles, auto manufacturers and stuff like that. So like I made a video a while ago of driving the new Sierra EV, and like that did really well on my channel. I don't want to be a full auto thing, but like I shared me shooting the vehicle and photographing it and shared those images too. So it's like a different perspective on that interest of mine. I also have a video that's coming out soon that's me visiting a wildlife rehab center and getting a behind the scenes walkthrough, but I'm also like photographing the animals. I'll share these images with them, and the people get a close up look at some of the wildlife, the great gray owls, some of the saw-whet owls, different things people don't get to see really up close. So I'm just kind of trying to align it with my interests right now while doing some of the things that I can maybe make the videos do better. And then maybe I'll hone in on like more of a topic consistency in the future.
We just want to take a quick break to give a shout out to our title sponsor, The Camera Store in Calgary, Alberta.
The Camera Store is where we go for all our photography and video gear. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned professional, they've got you covered.
Plus, they ship right across Canada with free shipping on most orders over $99. You can find everything you need at thecamerastore.com.
And what about TikTok? Are you enjoying that platform? I just signed up, a month ago or something, because Travis the Bush was saying like, you got to get on there. He's, he does really well with that and everything else. And then, I mean, there's a lot of content creators, obviously, that have transitioned, I guess, from Instagram over to TikTok. But are you
different demographics too, right?
Well, it is, yeah. And are you repurposing the same content or content?
I've been going back and forth. It's like, I probably post 1/3 of the amount that I do there. I had videos that did really well when I first got an account like 5 years ago or whatever, even before COVID. So I had maybe 13,000 followers or something there, which is negligible, but it's still like brands will come and they want to like do a post, so that there's value to that, I guess, on both platforms. But I definitely don't focus on it. I think if I was to do it, I'd be just like very raw and not focusing as much on like not quality, but like just behind the scenes type stuff.
Well, that's big now. Just being authentic, especially even on a YouTube platform. I don't even have cable. I'm a big YouTube guy. Like I just love YouTube, and they're just like you said. The way to start a YouTube channel is just start.
Just start. Yeah.
And then just being authentic. Like there's some of these guys that got millions of followers now just by, not these fancy edits or, just behind the scenes stuff, going out, driving their car, talking about their day or doing whatever it is. That's hot right now for YouTube, and people want that. There's a place, I guess, for that highly curated, highly edited style of video. But I mean, some of this stuff is just like hook on the mic, put the phone in front of you, and just go. And I mean, just killing it out there. So.
Yeah, the Outdoor Boys. I'm sure you watch those guys.
He's awesome too.
It's
though.
He's the perfect example of that. He's very authentic. He hasn't changed his ways for it, but he's got that audience based off doing what he loves. And I think that's like a great way to say it. It's just this is where one thing where I have like some combatants in my mind from doing more like fancier edits, maybe for commercial stuff. It's like I have this level of quality, but at the same time, that's not necessarily what I aspire to do on YouTube. But I have this like dichotomy in my mind of like, oh, it's not up to snuff. But this walkthrough video of the wildlife rehab thing, it's just like behind the scenes guy filming us the whole time, having a conversation. So like I'm breaking out of that even on my Instagram, trying to like just share more of that experience with people. Because at the end of the day, like my original goal and like some of my like original direction is just like to inspire people and share like the beauty of our world around you, whether to inspire people to get out there in their own capacity. My interest is wildlife and travel and skiing and stuff like that, but people can adapt that like passion for that to their own interests, I guess.
Yeah, you bet. So do you use the YouTube platform for educational purposes too? And what I mean by that, learning, new techniques or new equipment, new editing, skills, that sort of thing. Is that kind of your go-to or?
Yeah, I'm a graduate of the YouTube University.
I hear you.
Been the way that I learned pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I think between YouTube and finding a community that you can troubleshoot between each other, that's like, I struggle sometimes with the question of like, how do I find the camera or how do I find how to start this? Because it's like, I just would have never like randomly asked somebody, not saying that I'm opposed to it at all. It's just like, it's so available and so readily available on YouTube that you can pretty much search anything on Google, take you to a video and it will walk you through the entire process. And
for sure.
Do you know, actually YouTube's rated the second in the world for as a search engine. Yeah. Google's one, YouTube's second.
Yeah, and TikTok's going to be number one soon, I think. Yeah,
for sure. Oh, yeah. So it's hard for me to believe, growing up with Google, that these video platforms are the go-to for a lot of these. Well, I shouldn't say kids, but younger generation for searching anything. Like you, I just saying, like Google is first, and then it takes you to a YouTube video.
My girlfriend will be like searching up a restaurant to go eat at, and she searches on TikTok, and it will be a person giving a first-hand account video review of the place, and then she'll make her decision off that.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, that's just an example, but
yeah, sure. Yeah. That's insane.
That's just the way of the world nowadays. I guess that's just kind of what it is.
Crazy. I haven't adapted to that exactly, but it's very interesting.
It's interesting. You were talking about a minute ago there about the quality you're putting out. That's my struggle. So when I'm putting anything out, because I have a videography background and all that, putting it out, trying to do things, I almost try to do things as best as I possibly, even this podcast, right? Yeah. We try to put it out as best as we possibly can, provide the best quality to viewers, because that's kind of how I've been. So it's hard for me to just put something quickly out there or behind the scenes or whatever, even though that's what people want to see. I struggle with that as well. And I don't know what the best answer is on that one, but I do think that, Joe and I have tried to put out behind the scenes stuff or create behind the scenes, but we're so focused on capturing wildlife. It's sometimes hard to make that stuff too. So
yeah, I know. I absolutely agree. It's a consistent conversation that I have with that friend of mine there. It's like, how do I show up authentically? I hate using that word sometimes too, because it's almost getting overused, but like, how do I just show what I'm doing? And the only way is to just set up a camera and film it, or talk to the camera if you want to, and then you can do a voiceover. But I feel odd sometimes about sharing lesser quality. It was maybe worse a couple of years ago, but now I'm getting to be okay with like, not everything has to like, as long as it's aligned with my brand mission or like these things, the quality sometimes isn't associated to that. We're only putting these standards on ourselves. I believe.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I can relate to, well, it's even on the photography side of things too. You want to put out your absolute best on Instagram. I love this image, but I don't know if I want people to see it, but I absolutely love it, but the shadow isn't laying right, or there's this twig coming up through the body, but doesn't really affect the feel. But yeah, like, oh yeah, the struggle. And I can't even imagine with video. I mean, because
Yeah.
our podcast, I mean, in the grand, like in the reality of it, I guess, hey Chris, we could just have the three of us on one screen the entire time.
Yeah, over black, I guess.
Yeah, intro, extra,
right?
and that's it, right? But
we don't.
and this is all Chris. None of this is me. But the production quality is I think right up there with the overlays and adding the photos and the video clips and the intro, the extra, the just whatever it is that he does. Because
I'm going to correct you. It is about you two. It's a team. So we're,
but I mean, as far as the editing, the editing
So.
side of things, like it's and you know what, and not to deter from people that want to start a podcast. I mean, there's some great ones that just started up that we're watching that have it's just a camera, hit record, and they're awesome.
Yeah, content is king, right?
Well, and that's it. So you don't have to go over the top, but it's that inner struggle you have with perfectionism.
Well, and I got the go above and beyond thing stuck in my, like, tattooed in my brain. And I just always have been that guy to go above and beyond, provide more than, so I don't know. I mean, do you struggle with that? Like, even you were talking with the brands, like with GM and all this stuff, do you feel like you got to go above and beyond, or you kind of know what they came to you for? So that's what you're going to produce.
Yeah, I definitely have the thought of making sure that I'm meeting the mark, but I think, I don't know what it is. I have this belief that as long as I believe that I'm achieving the quality expected and I'm like outdoing myself every time, like not outdoing myself, but I'm pushing myself to learn something and like actually put my best effort forward. Yeah. That is the best way to move, because I can't be like getting done the project. And if I didn't do my putting my best foot forward and it doesn't land as good as I wanted to, that's my fault because I didn't put the effort in at the time of. But once I'm done that, that's where it is, and I go forward to it. It's definitely something I think of, like there's different levels to it as well too. Like it's almost like if you're going to shoot a robin in your backyard, you're not going to maybe have as much focus. But if you're shooting like grizzly bears in Alaska or something like that, or special species of wildlife you haven't seen, you're like going with your best foot forward and making sure you have everything set up, planned out. And I think for me, somebody that has like a little bit of a hard time getting organized, it's that planning and prior planning makes things all the easier. And so making sure that I use a program called Milanote to get everything on like a board, all my documents, everything I need to know, all the times, everything set up in my shots and stuff like that. And that just helps me like make sure that I'm getting what I actually set out to do.
What's it called?
Nice. Milanote.
Milanote, Milanote. It's kind of like it's kind of like Freeform on Apple, but it's a little bit more globally used. Just people in different platforms can use it a little easier. So I really like that one.
We use even for this podcast, but even when I was in the corporate world, I used something called Trello. It's just like a priority organization tool. So I live by Trello with every single thing I do, but it's not to a shot list like this. Right?
Yeah, this could be anything that you want it to be really. But Notion's even further with like the planning stuff. Yeah, I use my calendar and I kind of am all over the place with what I'm using, but I have a good system for it. But
it works for you.
Yeah, for sure. But the quality question is, I mean, these days on social media, I don't think quality is necessarily king, but it depends what your goal is. That's something that we talk about with people that are always asking us, like, I'm probably saying for you too, is like how to get started and how to get like working with brands. And like, if you want to work with brands and that's your goal, quality is probably going to be a big portion of that. But if you want to create a personal brand, quality might not be part of that at all. It might be your story and what you say to your audience more than anything else. So it really comes down to that.
I think the story is key. Absolutely. People just want to know. I mean, that's why I think we do well with this podcast because, people want to know where you're from, what you've done. Aspiring photographers or videographers want to know how you got started. Everybody's story is different, right? So, and, even if we didn't do the video side of things, it was just audio. I mean, people still get the story. So, I think that's huge. And YouTube's kind of letting you know that, that word authentic is the way to go now. Cause even 5 years ago, man, YouTube was so like videos were just so high production. like very high production. And you needed, I mean, you almost had to hire video editors if you didn't have that skill, right? And now, you know, I'm sure you can do it with just the most basic of video editors and get some, you know, some good
Just have
quality
AI do
stuff
it for you.
Yeah, you can do that for sure.
Oh, AI. There you go,
have
Dusty.
AI make
Tell
it.
us about AI. Are you using any of that, or?
I wouldn't say anything like out of the ordinary. I use ChatGPT relatively frequently, just for kind of like a second brain almost. But
Yep.
and then the AI in Lightroom is pretty nice, but that's pretty basic. I would say I'm not using anything crazy beyond that too much. Some of the audio stuff too that fixes and cleans up audio is pretty nice, but beyond that, not too much at the moment. No.
Yeah, Chris is. I guess that's AI, Chris, and Riverside using pulling clips and.
Yeah, there's a tool called Opus Clips, right, to pull clips to create, you know, finding the best spot. Riverside, we use this as a tool for podcasting. It can go through and actually pull like kind of a key spots from the show to create like little clips for. That's the most AI, and I use ChatGPT as well. And you're right, on the audio side, there are certain times that the audio needs just a little bit of a pump behind it, and you know, there are some great tools out there to help with that too. So, but nothing like you know, the AI that we're seeing people that are winning photo competitions by making, you know, images from nothing. You know, we avoid that at all costs. So
no, I'm not using that form. Sometimes like I'll expand an image if it has like a clean background, like it's not making up a mountain range, but I'll expand the frame just to get the crop that I want if I don't get it. But that's more on the commercial side of things than wildlife.
Or it's okay. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's not documentary style like wildlife photography where you're adding in things or that sort of thing. Yeah.
I kind of feel like I land a little bit, like I relate with the interest of the like the old school style wildlife photography, but I feel like just because I grew up more on Instagram, like the way that I edit maybe and the way that I am like focusing on capturing things is just like slightly different end result while we have all the same interests. So I feel like I'm not like photoshopping and changing the whole subject, but I have maybe a little bit more latitude on Instagram than putting on into wildlife competitions and stuff like that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of got to know where you're editing for, where you're creating the photo for. Like even for, I mean, you know, the AI side of Photoshop where you can remove a big tree that's going through a bear, you know what I mean? Even for that, that's cool. Can you put that into certain photo competitions? No, but you know, can you still print it and hang it on your wall? Well, you know, sure. Right. So it depends on where it lies in different areas for sure. But for social media and all that, getting images out there, you're not putting something in there that it's not there.
Yeah, so. Making your own albino bear.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
So you had mentioned that people ask you all the time, you know, certain questions about how do you start working with the brands and this sort of stuff. So do you offer anything like that, like private coaching, one-on-ones? Are you looking at possibly doing some workshops in the future, or is your primary focus right now what you're doing, you know, working with brands and you know, working on personal projects?
Yeah. It's definitely something that I'm interested in. Me and my friend Victor, who I keep bringing up here, talked about doing it just because I really enjoy community and relationships. So meeting other passionate people would be cool. We're kind of looking at maybe doing one here in Alberta to start things off, but not making it our business focus, more purely just being like a fun way to get people involved and share our backyard while also making a little bit of money, but not, I think just because I have found a really good way to build my career and what I'm doing with freelance work, and then 50% of the stuff doing on social, that most of the time my best interest lies with focusing on those two things, or eventually probably focusing on one or the other. So not that I'm not interested in that. It's just like you only have so much time. So it definitely gets difficult to kind of prioritize that. And in the future, maybe if I was doing social stuff more full time than having a little bit less freelance, I would have, maybe I probably won't have more time, but maybe a little bit more latitude to focus on some of those community-based things. But yeah, it's definitely something in the back of my mind that would be fun, I think.
Yeah. So the stuff you currently do then is more of the invite stuff like Sony did with you, like where people can come and meet you and pick your brain and answer questions and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. This is the first year that I've been to like a bunch of meetups with Sony Canada, who I've been involved with a little bit over the last few months. Doing that event, I was just a co-host for like a local creative meetup, which is really cool. over 200 people came from Calgary, which was awesome.
Nice.
Wow.
But then I guess with Light Chasers too, which is kind of involved with that too. But these are things that I'm not setting up. And then there's a couple more speaking type of engagements with community aspects to them that are coming through the woodwork as well. But definitely something that I love, because I love getting to meet people and being involved in those communities. So it's fun, but I also don't have I'm not the one planning it. So it's not like as much stress.
Yeah. So what do you find right now in your career at this moment? What's one of your biggest challenges that, maybe somebody can relate to, or something you're kind of struggling with and trying to push through?
I think the biggest challenge is direction. It's like, I feel like all of us are always constantly trying to find that, what should I be my next move?
Yeah.
I found some success in my mind anyways, like where I'm at a place where I'm happy, I'm able to make a living that I can support myself with, which is basic necessities. So like, as long as those are being met, I'm generally happy. But in terms of content, I'm finding, the love for shooting the things I'm shooting is great, but like the style and the theme and the format, it's always like a question in the back of my mind, because I still don't necessarily feel like I'm showing up, not in terms of quality, but how I want to be, and like being able to tell stories and things like that. So like just the question of what I should be doing is probably the biggest thing. And I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to that, because you learn something and then things change, and then, I'm doing this now, or I focus way too much on this side of things, and now I'm back to this, and I haven't posted enough this month. What should I post? That type of thing.
And that's social media, right? Like, that's exactly it. It's tough. I mean, I kind of got in late with Instagram. My daughter actually told me about it and asked me why I wasn't on it. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So if it wasn't for her at that time for me to get on, I wouldn't have, eventually I would have caught on, but I was way behind getting started on Instagram. But just to keep up, like you said, and the complaints I hear, stagnant growth, people aren't seeing your posts, this, that, how do you fix it, and everything else. You almost have to be on YouTube every day just to kind of get the latest update.
That conversation drives me nuts, because like, they're a business. They don't owe you anything if you're not doing something that people want to watch, or if you're just not posting consistently. Any of these things, it's like, it doesn't mean most of the time it has nothing to do with your work's not good. But the other side of the thing is like, nobody owes you anything. So why are we complaining in this way about it? It's like, either do something about it, or actually do the work. And this goes for all capacities of becoming a creative business owner, or whatever aspect of life. But it's funny to see the people just moaning online about not having results, or like it's like expecting a result and not receiving the result is the way the conversation goes, it seems.
Well, for a platform that's free.
Yeah, I know. It's such a weird thing.
And think about it. Think about what Instagram's given you up to this point, even though, the reach isn't there, and they may not be pushing your content and stuff, but look what it's done for your career. I mean, back when I first started, it was mailers. It was an ad in the newspaper. It was a commercial on local cable TV. And that cost thousands. Back then, it cost thousands of dollars to produce a 20-second commercial to get people to come into our portrait studio.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now everybody has this stuff available for free, for nothing.
Yeah.
So absolutely on the marketing side of things, people have it well, and I would agree with you. Yeah, not to really complain about it, do something or try something different to get you out there. But I mean, I don't know if it would have, brought my career to where it is without social media right now. I mean, without having to do the old mailers or magazines or, commercials and stuff. So I'm very grateful for it. 100%.
For sure.
So
yeah, I don't think social media is everything. If you find a way that works without it, that's great. The way that things have been for me, it's definitely been valuable. And the people in the middle that don't want to do it or don't want to put it forward, like, that is your decision. And then also, if you're not like self-analytical and looking at what you're sharing, if it's not aligned with what's doing well, like recently I've focused much more on carousels, and I have some of the most engaged pieces of content ever, not aside from reels, like the crazy reels, but that are carousels. So it's like things are still working, but it's going through changes for sure. So as long as you're adapting and providing. Also on that quality conversation, I was going to say that's where I'm enjoying carousels, because I can put 20 photos, I can put some of my favorites in the beginning, and then a bunch of these like behind the scenes or lesser desired looking ones that are still really cool story images of the wildlife specifically in the back of those carousels. So it's a fun way to share images that might never see the light of day otherwise.
Oh, yeah, you bet. No, absolutely. There's another form of, sharing or engaging with your audience. And a lot of photographers have a newsletter. And, the idea behind that is, of course, you're talking to people that have subscribed, so they want to hear from you. But if any of these free platforms ever went away, like if Meta stopped tomorrow and you have hundreds of thousands of followers and you have nothing else, you're kind of hooped. You're kind of starting from scratch again. Whereas a newsletter, it's something to build on. And if anything ever goes away, you still have your newsletter. You still have a way of engaging with your audience. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you have one? Are you thinking of starting one?
Or what is your backup plan, I guess, as well in that case?
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying to equally focus on building like business skills that are actually like relatively hard skills that I can transfer to other stuff throughout the years that I feel like have some value to them too, in terms of that regards of a backup plan. Don't want to see that happen necessarily, but I definitely think that the value of an email list is huge, but I also think that you have to bring value to an email list. And like,
that's right.
I don't have, maybe I don't aspire to be post like sharing inspirational stuff or tips and tricks on a newsletter. So that's one aspect, but I also am not like have a like keystone piece that I'm selling, whether it's group trips or a podcast that I want to promote or anything like that right now. I think it's amazing. I think you're absolutely right, but it's just the structure of the things that I have going on. It just doesn't really fit in there right now.
That's right. That's right. No, I mean, a lot of the guests that we have on have newsletters, and I've signed up to those, because of their podcasts or, stuff I just wasn't aware of that they had. And, it's very cool learning a lot of stuff, their take on something different or, and then of course at the end, like you said, there's usually some sort of product. So they'll just have a list maybe of upcoming workshops or an ebook or something like that. So you certainly have to throw value in there. And then, like I said, at the end, maybe some stuff that you're selling, but to just throw it out there without a real plan, I guess I can see where you're coming from. You need, there has to be value to it. You can't just every time you send something out, it's, come to my workshop, buy this, exactly. Because I'm going to be unsubscribing awfully quick. So, right. I mean, if you get bombarded with sales and stuff, and then, every 6 months you get a tip, it's kind of doing it backwards, maybe promote something every month, but have some value to it in the beginning, right? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. And so I haven't landed on that point yet. I think it's definitely the strongest way to do it, especially if you are community focused and building like groups or things like that for sure, or selling an educational product.
Sure.
Does that ever cross your mind? I was just going to ask you about that.
Especially with your video background.
Like putting a course together.
I do have an editing course that's almost a couple of years old now.
Okay.
With basically like a few presets. Usually everyone sells like 20 or more presets in their packets. But like I basically work off one preset that's kind of slightly adapted, and I use a lot of masking to kind of achieve my end look, which walks through for lifestyle image, an automotive image, 2 landscape images, and wildlife too. So it's more basic, but it takes like a pretty detailed edit and walks you through like in a half-hour video. I also have some of those on YouTube if people want to check those out. It's completely different. This is where it's so interesting seeing like, I use the term old school, like classic wildlife photography, which is most of the time basically no editing, but like I'm doing it, not intensive changing it, but like achieving a specific look by adding masking, etc., while still keeping things relatively realistic. It's my end goal.
Have you found Lightroom with the addition of masking in the last year or so, the functionality that they've added to Lightroom helping on the masking side, or do you stick more on the Photoshop side, or where do you?
I use Lightroom like almost 100% at stage, except for like tricky removal situations where I have to take something out or change the frame size or something like that. I'll switch over to Photoshop, but I'm not well versed over there. But yeah, definitely some of the AI masking stuff. I use object select a lot because I can, instead of subject, I can actually like pick like the specific parts of an animal or of a car or something like that. Say like the grill of a truck. If there's shadows in a certain area, I can specifically target that really easily. The same with like the luminance, how you can select a luminance range, which is really nice in the masking stuff like that too. So definitely, very heavy on masking. It's like I try to go to a flatter look, and then I go and add back contrast and light depth with masking.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. Lightroom has sure added some functionality in the last year or two. Yeah. It sure has helped that tool for sure. So.
Even the in-house Lightroom denoise is so strong now. I don't know how much you guys use that, but I used to use Topaz Labs denoise and enlarge and sharpen and stuff, but I almost am using Lightroom more than anything now. It's very good.
We've been trying out DxO Pure Raw 4, and they have Pure Raw 5 now as well. Yeah. And we had a guest on a couple of months ago, hey Joe, and he brought up that tool and we tried it out, and we were blown away. So even there are a few options out there for sure.
Yeah, especially that's so good for like when you're beginning. Like I'm going back to my old photos now where I didn't know it's good about my manual settings, and being able to use denoise on some of those images, right? It's really nice.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not a big editor kind of guy when it comes to the wildlife stuff. And, I wasn't using masks and everything else, but just with the advent of these new add-ons for Lightroom, and I did a quick edit of a polar bear along the shore with, it had kind of an ominous sky and everything, but I created like just 3 masks, made my adjustments in 4 minutes. And I'm just like, holy crap. And I didn't manipulate it a whole lot, but just enough to make that bear pop, against the dark sky and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, just like you said, there's a whole lot of images now. I'm going to have to go back and see the before and afters, right? Because it's made it easy for somebody like me that doesn't have a whole lot of those kind of editing skills. Like Chris has been in Photoshop since it was born. You know what I mean? Like you've used the entire suite basically, Chris, from the beginning. Yeah. Wow. Right through, like I've been involved in broadcast technical side for 30 years and then using some graphic design type stuff as well. So I've been kind of tied to the Adobe side for a long time. It's hard for me. Like I know the DaVinci Resolve on the video side is supposed to be good and all that and Final Cut, but the Adobe stuff I'm just so tied to. It's so easy for me. And so I'm too old to switch over, but yeah, the masking stuff is definitely improved. No more global adjustments anymore. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Talking to you, Joe, about masking, it's like I find that I won't almost never post an image without at least a gradient from the bottom to like just darken up the shadows, add more contrast to like draw into my subject. Like that's like almost a non-negotiable for me in any image. And you see, I never did that kind of stuff. So no, I'm starting to a little bit, and I can certainly see the advantages and stuff. But if you look at my Instagram feed, like that's pretty much what you see, So I mean, have nothing wrong with it. It's just but it's a different style. That's your way for sure. Yeah, for sure. No, I just think that that's a way that you can, in that style, like you're already doing. It's like you don't adjust. You don't even have to change the color. It's just like creating a slight more lead up to your subject, which still to me like so natural, right? Well, like the Nat Geo look kind of thing. The vignette, right? I mean, back in the studio days, my God, that was so horrible. I still got photos of my daughter and stuff that I did in studio. The white vignette. The white vignette. It was heavy too, sharp lines, and then you eventually in the darkroom got to those softer lines. And I'll use vignettes on my subjects, but they're not oval. They're kind of feathered and, so you can't really tell that there's a vignette, which is the way it's supposed to be. You shouldn't be able to tell that there's a vignette there, but I guess just along the same lines as what you're saying, that gradient just helps bring your eye up to the frame or to the subject and whatever the focus is. That's my big pet peeve is bad high key or low key editing. Like I'm not saying that it can't be done good, but sometimes it's just like a little aggressive for my taste. Yeah. Right. No, I totally get that. So, hey everyone, our Wonders of Waterton Nature Photography and Video Workshop is happening June 5th to 8th.
Don't miss this chance to learn and create in one of Canada's most beautiful parks. Spots are limited. Register now at thenaturePhotoGuys.ca.
I got a quick question for you on the video side, if you're okay with that. I'm just curious. You're using Lightroom on the photo side. What are you using for video editing?
I'm like 5 or 6 years deep in Premiere Pro, so I haven't switched yet. I do, because of the masking and all those things that are a little easier, and the color grading in DaVinci, I do want to switch. Most of my friends have switched too, so like working on shared projects is easier. But probably what I'll do is just start switching over from my personal projects and do commercial in Premiere Pro for a couple months, and then eventually switch over once I have a good grasp of things. But yeah, Adobe's Premiere Pro doesn't crash anymore, which is great.
Yeah, well, especially with the Apple Silicon chipset now, it's so much better. So
I just switched to a Mac Mini for everything from PC, an old PC, so it's been really nice. Yeah,
nice. Oh, that's pretty cool.
So Mac Mini is your go-to right now for video editing, everything, or
right now I maxed out a Mac Mini just like out of curiosity to see how it would handle. Like I knew that it would handle it just based off of the chips that they came out in reviews, but it's been really, really good so far. And I wanted a desktop specific setup. I'm probably going to pick up another laptop from Apple as well, just to make things a little easier on the road. But right now I'm just taking a portable monitor and my Mac Mini with me.
And you're talking about the new Mac Minis, because they just came out with some brand new.
Mini, It's like this big. It's tiny.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It sits on my stand of my computer.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Crazy.
So, Chris, you're running a Mac Mini, aren't you?
Well, I have a MacBook Pro from an M1 MacBook Pro from a couple years ago, and Joe is as well. But I did buy a Mac Mini, but it's not the new ones. It's the like last year's model. But I just use it to run my server and back up. It's running the podcast right now while the MacBook Pro is running everything else behind me. That kind of stuff. So having additional cloud uploading while I'm using my other computer, my other device, that kind of stuff. So more on the technical side. So I didn't need a massively powerful one. So the MacBook Pro is the powerful one for me, but just in case something happened to it and it died, I wanted a backup, but also running my server and all the technical side of things that are happening. So yeah, it's
definitely getting more accessible in terms of pricing and all that stuff for power. Even the MacBook Air, I think I'm just going to get a MacBook Air, M4 MacBook Air for my travel one, because you can still edit as long as you're not doing like heavy denoise and stuff on video clips. It still will run almost everything, and I usually just do photos while I'm on the road. So that's much cheaper than a MacBook Pro.
Well, that's for sure. And for me, I do a lot of real estate video in Calgary. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing multiple layers of 4K video editing and all that kind of stuff. When I do R5, when I do have 8K, even the I think it's the Max chip, the M1 Max chip, even with this guy, if I do a second layer of 8K on top of each other, it does start slowing down. I can still do it, but it's nothing like it used to be when, you're just waiting for things to, it's all glitchy, you're creating proxies just to edit. And so it's so much different now with the tools that are out there for sure.
Absolutely. It's made I switched, my computer was like 7 or 8 years old. So this is a life changer. I've made so much more stuff and edited so much more just because I can move faster.
Time is money, right? You have to, right? So
absolutely.
So speaking of servers, like what's your backup system there, Dusty? Like I'm pretty old school. I got a pile of hard drives. I double backup. You know what I mean? Everything is safe. Chris goes up to a server. Are you kind of doing which way do you kind of, especially your important client stuff?
Yeah, I got double or triple backups of all that stuff on SSDs. I pretty much am solely working off SSDs. And then I have some old school, like 8 or 10 terabyte, like the Tower hard drives that I've been using for my like kind of blogging backup stuff.
Yeah.
But I just have doubles on SSDs right now. I'm going to get a NAS or a RAID or something like that in the next few months as well too. I got to get like a system, because looking back to all my stuff, like I was saying with those Pumas from Patagonia, I have to go back into these drives that aren't hooked up. So I just want one system that has all of my stuff with multiple drives that are backing up. So, and then with a cloud safe as well. So I still in the process of working all that stuff. I haven't been very good about investing in gear and the not fun things. I just have spent my money on travel and
absolutely.
And stuff, though. It's been great, but now I'm trying to like get a little bit more realistic here on some of the things I need.
build it out for the future for sure.
Yeah,
In the field, we both use like the SanDisk SSDs. We have a ton of those.
We just got these, we dual backup in the field, right? Just these ones here, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte drives, super portable, lightweights. They're awesome.
I don't have any files on my computer, just software. Yeah. And everything's on SSDs. And then when I come home, I clone them back up to I have a Synology server I bought 5 years ago. And I thought this is going to last me forever, right? So 5 years ago, I put 4 8 terabyte drives in there and there's 20 terabytes of space. Well, I've had to buy extra, like 14 terabyte Western Digital towers to archive content off, and I upload to the cloud. So I'm looking at trying to figure out how to upload to or create a new Synology RAID that's got like 8 bays or 12 bays, because it's with the video file system these days. They're so huge, and 20 terabytes is not enough.
No, that's the big thing. I want to get one that you can grow into, basically, because the new systems, you can take one out and it'll back up to the other one, and then you just replace with bigger drives.
Well, even the RAIDs, right? Like if you buy an 8 terabyte or an 8 bay RAID or a 12 bay RAID, doesn't mean you have to buy
8 at once
drives and 12 drives. You can buy 2 or 3 and then just add to it as you go, right? So, but
these are the adult purchases and setups that take time too.
Not as fun as like a lot of people like, but it's definitely a business expense that's sometimes required.
Buy 1/3 of a 600 F4, I can buy a RAID.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is pretty insane. So
it's kind of sad, actually, but
cool, man. Well, hey, I think we're gonna slowly wrap things up here, Dusty. We got a couple last questions here, but or maybe one big one, depends on how long you take to this one, but answer this one. But we ask everybody, any last words or thoughts, you'd like to share, especially for those that are just starting. Love the story on how you got started, how you got here, figuring things out as you went, building community. Maybe I'm answering your question. Maybe I should just ask you to answer it. So anything you'd like to share for those, people just starting out, somebody that, wants to do what Dusty does, and how did they get started?
Oh, it's a big, hard answer, actually.
It is. Yeah. That's why we ask it at the end. There's a few
parts to it, but it's so important that you just start doing it. And also that people around you might not be doing it or might not even believe in what you're doing. Like, for example, my parents are farmers and they were super supportive, amazing parents, but like they just couldn't grasp necessarily what I was trying to do. And so like when I went to quit my job, they're like, "Are you really sure you're doing it?" It's like, well, I got proof, like I'm going to be okay. But that was after a while of doing it. So like, don't force yourself into going full time or making that the only goal. Make sure that you're doing something that you enjoy, and then figure out what your end goal is a little bit too. It doesn't have to be like exactly where you're going to end up, but work at putting some time into thinking what you actually want out of it. If you just want a little bit of extra income, maybe you could do something that you're maybe not as interested in, like just shooting portraits, weddings, something like that on the side. That's a great option to make more income. But if it's a passion thing, like a lot of us with wildlife, you might not be able to bring as much income right away. So be realistic about it. Maybe you need to have a part-time job or something like that. But just having that self-awareness to realize that it's possible, but you need to do the work, and also making sure that you're setting yourself up to be successful so that you're not a starving artist. We don't have to be starving artists. So,
well, and that's it. I mean, it's okay to, give it a go. And after 6 months, things just aren't happening. So you pick up a part-time job. Hey, that's okay.
That's awareness, right?
It is. And then, then you can, you built up enough cash flow to, pay your bills for another 6 months and give her a go again. But in the meantime, you're building on your skills. You've maybe joined a different community, or you know what? A lot of people don't realize this business involves a lot of business. So even just taking a business course or class or learning that's going to help you, get a little bit step forward, in the right direction. Because I know growing up in the photography business, they had said, it was kind of common knowledge, because there was photographers that were okay. There were decent photographers making a lot of money, very successful. Studios are busy all the time. They had awesome promotions in the paper, this kind of stuff. And then there was, those top-notch photographers that weren't as successful. So, and the thing that separated them, like I remember the one photographer I worked for, John, when asking him, he had basically said, go to business school and then become a photographer, because you can learn photography, but business is where it's at if you're going to make a living at it. So,
yeah, absolutely. I think the self-awareness is key in that. And that goes for all aspects, whether it's like looking back at your work and the quality of it, make sure that you have people around you that you trust, and make sure that you're self-aware enough to take the input that you should and not just everybody's input. Also being aware of like, is it realistic that I'm going to make enough money? Do I have the proof of it to actually quit my other job? Or should I just keep my part-time job and work from 5 to 9 every day on this, build up to it? And then also about what you're shooting and your creative stuff and building into something that you actually enjoy. So,
well, I'm sure the transition wasn't overnight either. It probably took you
it was
a
5
long
years
time.
or so.
Yeah, there you
4
go.
years.
So these things don't happen overnight. It's a build in progress, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And it wasn't only till recently that it felt like I have some more breathing room. So it's been like a long transition. And I mean, maybe didn't do things traditionally, but I did it my way. I think that's a good way to end it on it. It's like, your journey is not going to be the same as mine. We can end up at the same destination, but you're going to have to work to figure out what your skill sets are, as well as what your weaknesses are, and figure out how to move forward.
That is a great way to end.
That's
awesome.
great advice. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks, Dusty. We're going to wrap things up here. Awesome conversation. Looking forward to meeting you
man.
In person. Well. Light Chasers, that's going to be, again, another great community event,
They're always awesome there.
Oh, it is. And, getting to meet, those people, you made contact with on, social media and that sort of thing. I mean, the truth be told, that's how we found you, right?
Yeah.
It's like Light Chasers. Hey, this is, check out your portfolio, check out your website. It was just like, oh, wow, this is crazy. We have to have them on. So it worked out awesome. So, thanks again,
man.
Dusty.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a great chat. I'm looking forward to having a proper chat in person.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You betcha. So, everybody, thanks for watching again. We really appreciate it, and we will catch you guys on the next episode of the Nature Photo Guys podcast. Thanks very much.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Before we wrap up, we'd like to thank the Camera Store for supporting the Nature Photo Guys podcast.
They're a legendary name in photography, and their support helps us keep bringing you these episodes.
Don't forget to check them out at thecamerastore.com for all your photography and video needs.
Thanks for joining us on the Nature Photo Guys podcast. If you have any questions, contact us at info@thenaturePhotoGuys.ca or message us on Facebook and Instagram at the Nature Photo Guys podcast. Visit YouTube and subscribe to our channel to watch all our latest videos. Or follow and listen to our latest podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at thenaturePhotoGuys.ca. We'll catch you next time on the Nature Photo Guys podcast.